Hello. Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Elton Henry, and today I'm going to talk to you about another, it's a show, it's a TV show, so I guess you could say underrated TV show. And it came out recently, and it only had a 13 episode run, and came out on AdultSwim. Now it's available on HBO Max. Also, like, subscribe, comment below if you like my channel. If you have any recommendations, which you considered as for underrated movies, and if you'd like for me to cover it, I'm willing to do so. It's a welcome community here. Just hit that like button. But what I want to kind of get out there is that they're expanding the franchise. Blade Runner Black Lotus, that's what I'm talking about. And it's set between the movies, where it focuses on a replicant named Elle, who's woken up from having amnesia. She has it pretty badly, to where she doesn't know who she is, where she came from, and she roams around Los Angeles, set in the year 2019, to try to figure out, is it 2019? I think it's 2019. No, it's 2032, I think. It's set in 2032, where she embarks on a journey to figure out who she is, and what's the meaning of her life, and as a replicant. And when it becomes more that she starts to not believe that she's a replicant, but the more that this guy, she ends up getting help from actually one of the characters from 2049, Doc. His name's Doc Badger, and then Elle ends up getting help from another person named Joseph. Wagner's from Blade Runner 2049. He has one scene in there, but he's more prominent here. I actually liked it that they gave him more something to do to aid Ellie in her quest to figure out who she is, and it's more of a quest for vengeance. And the more it starts to reveal, and what I really liked about it is that it was more of a mystery, but not like to where it was up to par like the original Blade Runner in 2049, but it was just like each episode it started to reveal more about her past, which I have to admit, it gets a little bit repetitive, where they keep showing the same flashbacks in each episode, where we know, like, okay, we know, but as it kind of goes along, it starts to make more sense with her past, with what she's been involved with. And the only reason I got a little bit repetitive because of the whole weekly schedule of the show releasing, but luckily I was able to rewatch it again when it came on, available on HBO Max in English. But it does feel like it gets repetitive and it slows down the pacing of the show. There's only 13 episodes. However, it starts to pick up, I think, around episode 4 or 5, where the bigger picture of Ellie's story reveals more and more. It becomes I would say a little bit predictable towards the end, where you can kind of figure out certain things about her past that is connected to the main antagonist, Nander Wallace, who also appears in Blade Runner 2049, and it explains, which, spoiler alert, explains the whole eyesight of him being blind. For those who don't know, in this show, Nander Wallace is voiced by Ben Wheatley. He's somewhat of a known actor. He's been in American Beauty, and he played the villain in Ghost Rider, the 2007 Nicolas Cage film, for those who hasn't seen that. And then he was also in Interstellar. Also like some of the voice acting in this. You had Jessica Henwick, who was known for, I think, Iron Fist and Daredevil. She also plays Bugs in The Matrix Resurrection. Yeah, Brian Cox plays Nander Wallace Sr. And then who was that one actor that played Joseph? I don't remember his name. I think it's Wu Will. I'm just looking up. Will Young Lee. And I think he played one of the ninjas. I remember him. He played one of the ninjas in the Wolverine. He was trying to get with Mariko. You bastard. And then you have Marlowe, which is voiced by Josh Duhamel. And actually, a lot of these guys were actually pretty good being voice actors for anime. I could see them actually do this again. But back to the show. What I really had a problem with this is the fan base. What had like a little issue with the fan base, whether people were criticizing the animation, like right even before you even give it a chance. I think this animation is state of the art for a CGI show, especially when it comes with the movement. Now, I don't know anything much about motion capture CGI, but it's incredible. It's incredible. The way they captured the movements of some of the action sequences, and most of the action sequences are basically martial arts, and the way that they were able to film and capture it, it actually got intense on a lot of the action sequences here. And I'm not just speaking BS. I was literally at the edge of my seat, like intense. Like how this is going to turn out. Like the last two episodes where Elle fights off against a replicant clone of herself, and I think it's a clone of herself. Where it's all white. Where the camera pans around and gets up close and just follows the movements is incredible, and you can see detail how they're able to move, and it feels very natural. I think sometimes when it gets very too movement, you can actually see the rendering of the animation a little bit go a little bit off, but that's a little bug issue. It's phenomenal the way that they did this. I remember when I researched it, like literally like 4 years ago, when they were talking about having a TV show of Blade Runner coming out as an anime, and there was going to be CGI. I was really curious how this was going to come out, and the way that they were able to capture this was amazing. It was amazing, and I actually didn't like that people were criticizing the show even before it came out. And now it's out, and actually having to witness this, because there's that toxic fandom thing that goes in. It was great. It felt really, really good. It actually felt like you were part of the Blade Runner. I mean, yeah, it's like a rated R version of, Max Steel, and that animation is heavily dated. I mean, come on, it's 20 years ago. But here, huge improvement, detail with everything, how they built this world, how they built up the characters and set them up, and then the facial structure, the movements was beautiful. Here's one thing though in anime, and I tend to notice that, like especially even if it's a short series, they tend to have a recap show or a recap episode. I don't know, I guess that's the thing for just Japan shows for anime, is to have recap episodes of a show. I don't know, it just, there was, and the episode deals with one of the Blade Runner, what's her name, Officer Officer Davis, Elena Davis, where she's being interrogated by, I think, by the FBI or somebody, to recall the events that happened. And this happens like midway in the show, like right after the episode where Ellie hunts down the police chief and his wife at his place, and then you have Josh Duhamel's character, the Blade Runner, come in and trying to take him down. They do this recap episode to kind of just get you up to pace of what's happened, which honestly kind of drags the episode, the series a bit, because really it's just a filler episode. It really didn't need to happen, because for like 14 minutes of the episode, you're just there with Davis and she recounts the events. I mean, maybe that'd be cool for a detective movie or like a detective show. I mean, well, Blade Runner is somewhat of a detective show. At its core, it is a detective show, but yeah, it is a mystery science fiction show. And that's what the Blade Runner mythology is with. It's a mystery sci-fi property. So I understand if they would do something like this. I just think it felt like filler and it didn't need to be a part of the series. Maybe if they started back from that episode 1, they told it back, but through her perspective, and they played it out throughout each episode until that moment. Okay, but that's not the focus of the story. The focus is on Elle. But luckily that was only in that one episode. Did I have a favorite episode? Well, there were a few episodes I really liked. I mean, I like the whole series and all, but I really like the last 2 episodes because it just got more intense. I really love the episode 12, the shootout face-off sequence with Will Young and Josh Duhamel's character. I'm just calling by the actors' names. I'm sorry. And they have this intense shootout, like chase shootout sequence, and the way the camera pans around them fighting physically, it's intense and gripping. I was literally at the edge of my seat, wondering if one of the characters were gonna die, and one of them does die. But the way they shot it was amazing, and I'm gonna just spoil it a little bit there. Like it was so close of literally showing the protagonist almost dying, and it really it's intense. It's like intense. It was more. I think it was more intense for me than the chasing of Deckard being chased by the Replicant in the original Blade Runner. That's just my opinion. And there was another interesting thing about with the concept of with this show of Blade Runner 24 Black Lotus, where you tend to notice that because it pays the question, as we humans, are we becoming less human? Are we becoming less emotional? Because in the show, Elle, the Replicant, becomes extremely emotional and becomes more human, ways more humans than most of the human characters, where Elle is not really afraid to express herself or shown any vulnerability or weakness. I mean, yeah, I mean, she hasn't lived long because she's a replicant, but the way she expresses herself and is able to, I guess, let her emotions guide her to the best, well, clue after clue, to the best possible scenarios of solving the mystery behind her past, really benefits in her favor from what I've seen from the show. And then all the human characters are so emotionless. I feel like they've forgotten about their humanity, and I got the vibe from that. And I like actually like the ideas of these Blade Runner properties, where they try to be different with different stories, where it's like the whole universe, but you have certain stories that could be about this, where it's a mystery, or it could be about, well, to its core, they're all going to be mysteries. But I like it where they have it kind of like an anthology, where it's focusing on different characters. I mean, what's the word? I guess a shared universe. Okay, I guess the trends of a shared universe, but not heavily involving the other characters, like directly. Like, you know, I could the trends of today's movies. I could see a Blade Runner shared universe from all the stories that you're trying to do. I could really see that happening. All in all, I thought the show was great. The action sequences were amazing. The animation was top notch. Voice acting was spectacular. Everybody did a phenomenal job. The pacing, okay, maybe they could have wrapped up the show a little bit faster. I'm glad the show wasn't too long, but there were maybe like 2.5 episodes they probably could have pulled back a bit with just pacing and story. But all in all, this was a great addition to the Blade Runner franchise, and I really am glad that they tried to do something a little bit experimental with this, and I thought it succeeded. And I think this show should get more recognition, or this anime should get some more recognition. I mean, it looks like it's the direction we're heading now for CGI animation. For those who are into anime, I would really suggest you check this out, but you would have to probably do a little bit of research on the Blade Runner universe, just to kind of know what a replicant is and what the whole universe is about, set in that universe, because things might get a little bit confusing just what they're referring to. But really, it's a pretty simple story, simple premise. It's a revenge story. But if you want to know more about the world, I would suggest researching a little bit more about the Blade Runner franchise. Because I think this show, I think as you watch this show, I believe it explains it very well. So I don't believe, unless you're interested in watching the other movies, you don't really need to watch the other movies to figure out what it connects. Each story operates on its own, so you don't really need to watch any of the other movies, because they do mention certain things about what it means to be a replicant, and then certain things of why this world was built in the first place. So they do explain certain things, and they reference certain things about the universe. You just gotta be patient when they reveal it. But if you want more, I would recommend to research it a little bit more. But I thought this was a great addition to the Blade Runner franchise. For those who've seen it, comment below. Let me know if you have seen Blade Runner Black Lotus. I highly recommend it for anybody who has AdultSwim, have an AdultSwim account online, or HBO Max, or Crunchyroll. It's also available on Crunchyroll. Comment, subscribe, and let me know what is your favorite underrated TV show.